Online dating, Bumble, Tinder, Plenty of Fish, you name them. What's the ones? Those are the ones I kind of dealt with in my time when I used to be on those apps. And I'm telling you, those apps for me were the biggest distraction. Before, hey Christine, how you doing? Those apps to me were the biggest distraction. Before I got off those apps, I was probably spending hours a day just swiping, checking, swiping, checking. I would find myself hanging with my friends with my phone out, swiping, looking at profiles, just looking and looking, just constantly fishing, constantly looking for a connection. And, it was draining. And, when you're a womanizer, it's like a big playground for people who are like womanizers, because it's like it's open. It's like you can just feel free to just swipe and look, swipe and look. It just feeds your ego, it feeds your validation, and it also gives you an opportunity if you're like addicted to sex or any type of thing you have going on. It opens up those doors. It gives you more opportunity. So I found myself, I've had all kind of experiences on those dating apps, and but the biggest thing that I realized is that I was caught up in the V trap, and it just fed my ego because every swipe was validation, every match was like, somebody feels me, knowing that it might not be anything. I was still just addicted to just that whole process, and I had to look at myself like, what am I doing on these apps? Sometimes I would meet people, but most times I never even met up with people. It was just the process. You spend money, you waste time, and you away from the things you really should be doing. Chasing on those apps, wasting on those apps. So anyway, I'm gonna jump into it, and as we go forward, I'm gonna read some stuff I wrote out. And if you have any questions, any things you want to say, talk about, feel free. All right. So tonight's topic is, like I said, the swipe trap. How online dating keeps you in the V trap. And right now, before we get started, here's the book, The V Principle. It's available on Amazon. My cousin Ken just posted the link. If you want to get a signed copy, hit the link and I'll send it out to you once they arrive. All right, let's jump into it. I'm your host, Ivy Hunter, and this is a podcast about helping people understand the difference between living in the V trap and living in the V zone. The V principle is alignment. It's about understanding why so many of us spend years chasing validation, wasting time, hurting people, and hurting ourselves before we finally realize that we've been stuck in a cycle. Tonight, we're talking about something that has become one of the biggest modern V traps in the world, and that's online dating. I call it the swipe trap. And I'm not speaking about this from judgment. Like I told you earlier, I spent years caught in this cycle myself. Swiping, matching, messaging, going on dates, gaslighting, catfish, and all these things you experience, with online dating. Thinking I was moving forward in life by just keeping busy. I was really just moving in circles, staying stuck, just chasing and wasting. And so we're going to unpack tonight some of the things we experience when it comes to dating. And again, dating apps. And I'm not with the V principle, it's not anti-sex. It's about alignment first. It's about being responsible. So I'm not trying to preach abstinence, or don't be connected. I just want people to understand that can't waste your time chasing and wasting. You got to stay aligned, and you don't try to find the right person. You attract the right person, and you do that by just, like I said, becoming the right person. By becoming the right person. All right. So topic one. Let's go over the V framework refresher for those of you who haven't heard that yet. Before we talk about online dating, let's quickly revisit the V framework because everything in life tends to fall somewhere within this V. The left side of the V is chasing. Chasing validation, chasing attention, chasing sex, to chasing the feeling of being wanted. The right side of the V is wasting time, wasting emotional energy, wasting people's time, like I did, entering situations you already know that aren't aligned. And I love this quote, that right there, entering situations when you know you aren't aligned. So again, Bob Marley has a quote that says, the most cowardly thing a man can do is awaken a woman's heart without intentions on loving her. And I know that for me personally, like I said before, I did that a lot in my life, not from an evil place, but just from a broken, selfish place. And that's something that I'm not proud about. Every time I'm about to come on here, I feel like I got to go to the bathroom because I get nervous because to be so vulnerable and share brokenness, it's really difficult. It's really difficult to do that. But I know that I really truly feel like it's a part of my purpose. So anyway, let's keep moving. Topic two: the swipe trap. Online dating creates an endless cycle: swipe, match, message, repeat. And every time someone matches with you, it triggers validation, that small moment where you feel someone chose me. But that feeling is only temporary. You swipe again and again and again. And before you know, you're not even looking for connections anymore. You're feeding the cycle of validation. That's the left side of the V, chasing. And again, there's nothing wrong with dating apps because some people can't go out, because of whatever reasons, they're too busy, they're single parents, and they just don't like going out. But the bottom line is, if you're on it, you got to make sure you're not getting caught in that V trap. You got to make sure that you have boundaries and you stick with it. You stick with your boundaries and you don't allow yourself to get gaslit. You really take the time to get to know people, because there are some great stories where I know people have met their husband, their wife, on these dating apps. So there are some good things to it, but for the most part, a lot of people are just caught in that V trap. Wasting time. Now let's talk about, yeah, it's a dopamine hit, exactly. Now let's talk about the right side of the V, because while you're chasing validation, you're also wasting time talking to people you already know you're not aligned with, keeping conversations keeping conversations alive simply because you're bored. And sometimes people are doing the same thing to you. This is where the emotional debt begins to build, because when you keep someone emotionally invested while knowing you're not aligned, you're creating damage that will eventually show up somewhere in life. And I know that for a fact, because like I told you, my emotional debt has turned into real life debt. I struggled in life in a lot of areas. I feel blessed with my life, but also struggle. And I know that I caused that. And so that's why I'm always passionate about putting out love and reshaping my karma, knowing and working on myself, because I just don't want to settle for that being my story. And I'm not a victim. I never want to play the victim role. I know I just gotta work to get better, and you have to be intentional. So whatever you went through in life and that has caused you to be where you are right now, and you feel a little broken, don't just settle and use that imprint as a crutch to stay the same. You got to really be intentional. It's never too late. Let's go into gaslighting. Topic four: gaslighting on dating apps. Another thing that happens constantly on these apps is gaslighting. People disappear for weeks, then come back acting like nothing happened. People say they want a relationship while behaving like they don't. People blame you for reacting to behavior that is clearly inconsistent. You hear things like, you're overthinking, you're moving too fast, you're being dramatic. But the truth is, many people on these apps are operating from their own V trap. So confusion becomes normal. I know that I was a victim of that. When women would call me on it and they would get frustrated because I just wasn't following up, I had the nerve to kind of get triggered or get irritated and like they're tripping. No, I was just wasting their time. And I knew right away that it wasn't going to be nothing, but I just kept on engaging. That was selfish. That was broken. That was because I needed validation. So, we got to be really aware of that. Make sure if you're on these apps, you're not getting gaslit. If somebody's not following up with what they say, and, don't give them a second chance. Just understand that that person is, nobody's too busy that they can't get in touch with you. Because I've been around a lot of busy people in my life, and people say, I'm just too busy, I can't do this. I've been around the busiest people in my life, and what I realize is that people contact who they want to contact. I don't care how busy you are. That's my belief, because I've been around it. Number five: catfishing. Another huge problem with online dating is catfishing. This is the ultimate example of wasted time. You think you're building a connection. You think you're talking to someone real. Weeks pass, months pass, and then you realize the person isn't who they said they were. Fake pictures, fake story, fake identity, and that's time you can never get back. That's the right side of the V, in full effect. Wasting your time. They wasted your time. And I've wasted out, I haven't catfished anybody, but it's not a good feeling when you do get catfished. When you finally decide you want to meet somebody, and, you look at their picture, their profile pictures and all that stuff, and you get to them and they're whatever. I'm not going to get superficial. They're not looking like their profile picture. And so you basically get catfish. There's a lot of that going on. People will put up pictures from 1995 and it's 2024, 2026, so you got to be careful of getting catfish, because people will always sometimes people will get you with that catfishing. All right, and this is one that is really, I love this one. This is called and I've dealt with this a lot. And that's how addicted to this stuff I was, to this online dating, the expanding radius metaphor. Here's something that really hit me when I was using these apps. Eventually the app tells you something interesting. I don't know if you guys ever experienced this, because you're probably not as bad as I was. When we've run out of people in your area, and then it tells you to expand your radius. So now you're swiping 50 miles away, 100 miles away, different cities, different states. And that became a metaphor for me, because if you have to keep on expanding the radius just to keep feeding the cycle, then maybe you're not searching for connection. You're just trying to keep the chase alive. And that's what I was doing. You know, I would run out of all these people, so many people, then all right, I would expand, and then I would expand, knowing that I'm never going to see these people, but just to stay connected, just to feel that feeling of a chase. It's really really addicting, and it's not healthy for you. So if you have to continuously expand, you're not really looking for a connection. You're just really trying to feed that ego, feed that validation, feed that emptiness. So that's when I knew I was getting out of control, because I kept on running through those things, because I'm constantly swiping. At a red light swiping. I'm in between classes swiping. It just consumes you. And those are times where you can really be focused on your goals. That's what I'm saying. It's a trap. Anything keeping you away from your purpose, away from your plan, is a trap. And so you got to make sure that you stay aligned and you're intentional about that. The real question at some point, like I said, I had to ask myself, why am I doing this? I know the problem was I was caught in a trap. Now the V principle isn't about shaming dating. It's about awareness, like I said before, because when you stop chasing validation and stop wasting time, you move into what I call the V zone. The V zone is alignment. It's where your actions, your intentions, and the values are moving in the same direction. You're no longer chasing attention. You're living with purpose. So tonight I want you to ask yourself something honestly. Are you actually searching for connection? Or are you feeding the swipe trap? Because once you recognize the cycle, you can break it. And that's what the V principle is all about: escaping the V trap and living in alignment. That is my quick take on online dating. Now I would like to open it up if anybody wants to come on camera, or talk about some of their experiences, give their perspective when it comes to that. Now's the time. But, I definitely appreciate your time. I'm going to, my shows are going to always kind of be a little different. I'm going to rotate. Sometimes I'll have a guest. Saturdays I'll have a guest. Saturdays I'll just come up here and I'll talk about a topic, and we'll open it up for discussion. Wednesday, I always have the VCAP, where I speak to women, and Saturdays will be dedicated to speaking to men. I really am grateful for the energy that I am feeling with this, the V principle, because it's a movement, and I love it. And I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for you watching. And like I said, if you haven't picked up my book, make sure you, on the link, there's a Square account where I can sign the book and send it off to you, or you can go to Amazon. Also, make sure we try to get those numbers up. Please like and share this, and go over to YouTube and follow me on the V Principle. There's great videos. I'm putting up shorts. It's starting to gain energy and momentum over there. And I am very honored to be able to be transparent. And I hope that it's touching people. I already know that it's working, because I've been getting messages. So it's, one person at a time. My grandmother used to say one day at a time. I'll say one person at a time. It's a journey. What's up to my brother Leafer? Let me see what you're saying, brother. Yeah, it's definitely reckless all the way. Being in that V trap and just swiping. I found myself in different states, different cities, going on the, because so they make it so easy. You can go to Atlanta, you can go to Philly, you can go to New York, you can go to Maryland, you can go out here in Cali, you can be anywhere, Delaware, and you can just set it up so you can find people wherever you are. And so it's a constant chase. So if you find yourself in that cycle, realize what are you really doing? And maybe try to pivot and spend that time doing something else productive, like working on yourself, working on your project, working on your business, working on your being a better person, working on being a better father, a better mother, a better, just a sibling, whatever. Just work on yourself. Don't get caught up in the V trap. I hope you guys all have a beautiful day. God bless you. Thank you for watching, and we will talk soon. I'll see you on Wednesday.